Hello, my friends. We are back. It's so good to see you. Carrie and I haven't had a live stream in a few weeks due to various vacation schedules. And, it's so funny that we're like back to normal in the world, kind of. And now my boyfriend had a business trip scheduled for next week and it got canceled because of this variant. So, everybody, do your thing, do your life. I hate saying it, but I guess be safe and we'll all get through this somehow and then we can all get back out on the road. But yeah, we're here. We're going to talk about what it feels like to up level today. And I feel like what's happening in the world right at this moment is exactly what it feels like to up level. It's like this, your buttons get pushed. You don't know which way to go. You don't know if you need to go back and deal with things or keep moving forward. Sometimes it feels like you're living in blind faith and like you're being delusional. There's a lot that happens. So Carrie and I are going to discuss, and feel free to ask questions. I see you're here live. Hello. Let us know who you are and what you want to talk about. And I'm excited.
Okay, I am glad that you brought this. Oh, hi everyone. I just jumped right in. I'm glad that you brought it up this way because when you sent me the topic and you were like, we're going to talk about what it feels like to up level. I mean, every time we talk, I feel like I say I'm in the middle of a massive up level, but like I had the recognition of like, ooh, yeah, I've really up leveled and it feels amazing. But then when you were talking about the whole COVID situation and the new Delta variant and the new like restrictions. I don't live in LA County, but I live near LA County. So we like get the same radio stations and all that. And like LA has gone back to mask mandates and how that feels. And I love that you used this as I love that you use it as an analogy because sure, when you look back, it feels amazing to have up leveled, to recognize, yes, I have up leveled. And it feels amazing when you recognize like your moment of recognizing like, I am gonna up level now. Like I am choosing to up level. But the in between can be a little like what we're experiencing. So to give this context for anybody who's not watching us live, and hello, thank you for saying hi in the chat, you guys. When the whole COVID crisis hit, people dealt with it however they dealt with it. Most people initially felt like, okay, whatever if they're saying stay home, we're going to stay home. If they're telling us to like Clorox wipe all of our groceries, we're going to Clorox wipe all of our groceries, right? And then we got to a place where we were uncomfortable with doing that. Right? And then like all sorts of turmoil came and so, like people got very like kind of entrenched in what they wanted, like how they wanted to be. There was huge resistance, right? Where there was resistance to each other, resistance to the rules, resistance. There was stuff happening. There was like we were in the middle of something and we were all feeling it. And then, and then whatever you believe about the vaccines, inevitably there was a vaccine and people's minds shifted, right? We entered a new reality. We entered a new plane of existence where suddenly it was cool if you were vaccinated, things were opening up like the world, right? And we were like, okay, yeah, this is our new reality. This is our new up level. What did we learn? And then right at the moment where we're like, yeah, we got it. We're grooving, like things are going all right. There's a little bit of a backslide. There's a little bit of a panic. There's a little bit of the same feelings that we had in the very, very beginning when all this happened have like been reactivated. And we also have been through so much that it feels going back to where we were a year and a half ago feels like an unacceptable reality for all of us. So I don't know if I explained that very well in terms of an analogy, but that's kind of what it feels like to up level is like you recognize you want to move from where you are. You recognize actually you already have moved from where you are, which is why where you are feels so uncomfortable. And so you go on your journey. You go on your up leveling journey, and I'm sure we'll talk about what that is. But inevitably, somewhere when you're really 99.9% there to the next level, there is that moment where some form of resistance will come up and you'll recognize this feels so much worse, right? Like, I don't know about you, Rachel, but the idea of like the initial quarantine, stay home, have my kids do virtual school, like I really handled that with a certain level of acceptance and like do it for the all and this too shall pass. And it's not, like I entered that all with, even though I knew I was in the middle of something, but the idea of having to go back, yeah, that's what it feels like when you've up leveled, is recognizing like, yeah, I'm not going to live that way ever again. I don't know if I did that justice, but thank you for introducing it that way.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're really getting at here is like, I think this is the place where people give up. This is when you're up leveling, let's take a real life example. You want to start a business, even if it's just the tiniest, you want to make $100 extra a month. Okay. So it's not about high stakes or anything. Like you're not looking to pay your rent or your mortgage on it. You just want to make $100 a month. And there are millions of ways to do it. And you go online and you find a list and you're like, oh, I could do this. This seems easy to me. I can do that. And you are already up leveling because you felt the inspiration to have more. You felt the inspiration to go look for that list to make it easy on yourself. You felt the resonance of that one idea being easy for you. And now you go to implement it. And maybe you need to contact a newspaper to place an ad, or you need to you need to get an email list service provider, right? You need to do one simple-ish thing you've never done before. Well, if you run into a snag, like you don't want to call this person and you put it off and you put it off and you put it off and you put it off, or you can't decide which email service provider to go with, okay? You're bumping up against a limiting belief that is preventing you from moving forward, resistance, right? And most people won't make it past that first obstacle because they'll instead of keeping their eye on the prize of, I'm going to make an extra $100 a month. I can do this. This is okay. I can get through this. Doesn't matter which service provider I choose. I can switch later if I want to. I can make this phone call. It's not that big a deal. It's going to last 5 minutes, right? A lot of people can't get over that first hurdle, and they start getting back to the story. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not cut out for this. This is stupid. I don't need the extra money anyway. That's the going back, but it feels worse than when you were there the first time. That's what kind of Carrie was getting at. Like, you can retreat, but you're not going to feel good. It will be unacceptable to you to live in that state, and it will drive you crazy, but you will direct that crazy at yourself. You'll doubt yourself. So if you can find those, you will get to those obstacles automatically. You don't have to look for anything. But if you can soothe yourself over those things, that is how you continue your up level. It's like with all of us, right? We can get through this. It's fine. We'll do our best. We can, find what works for us. There's always good in everything. If we can do that, we're going to be fine. But if we go into stories and get into conspiracy and there's a deep rabbit hole that we can go into if we want to make ourselves miserable, but that's the only thing that it's going to produce, right? So there's going to be a lot of limiting beliefs that you're going to come up against on your up level journey. If you can soothe yourself over them, great. If you can't, get a coach. That's what coaching's all about. Or retreat and feel worse, which unfortunately is what a lot of people do. right? And you'll know it if that happens, and then you can say to yourself, oh wait, where was I headed? Let me get back on that path, you know?
What's coming up for me when you're talking about it? One, thank you guys for your comments. Dale's like, ooh, keep your eye on the prize, stay light. I love it. Yes. And I love always the reminder to soothe yourself. And sometimes the only soothing I need is to go, okay, there it is. There's a resistance. This is evidence that I've already, like the energetic me is already where I want to be. And that's why this doesn't feel good, right? Like, even though I can still be in it. But what I was going to say, what I tend to do is I'll know that I have come against something when I'm blaming an external barrier. And unfortunately for my husband, it's often him who I blame. But like when he starts to like get on my nerves and like when he starts to be the problem in my life, I'm like, oh, what is this about? Right? Like I have learned there's a few things that come up one is when I blame him for like when it feels like he's the obstacle to whatever it is I want. Like if I could only, but he this or he that, like that is a sure sign that I have hit a little bump on my up leveling journey. I forgot what I was going to say. There's more than just that, but Rachel, what is yours? Oh, I know my when I do this with my face, that is a sign. And when I feel like I need to figure things out, when I hear those words come out of my mouth, yeah.
Yes, yes. And then going with that business building analogy, nobody wants what I have to offer. This isn't working. I can't sell anything. I don't want to sell anything. Like all of those come from a really understandable place. And I hear them a lot, but it's all fake. It's fake news because it's all from in here. Everything is internal. Everything is, your sales are internal, your bank account's internal, your reception in the world is internal, everything's internal. So when you start blaming the outside world for anything, even if it seems plausible, you just gotta, oh, it's me. It's always me. It's always me.
I have a story about that happened in my life. I told you this, Rachel, over a Marco Polo conversation a while ago, but so my schedule has changed a little bit. And I'm in the middle of an amazing up level. Like I am so excited about where this is going. And I definitely see the evidence of everything that I've asked for coming to me. And like, it's here. People who I've asked to be in my life, like in a certain context, they're there. Like I am like, yes, this is happening. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows just yet. And so, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, everything is amazing. On the other hand, I'm in the middle of this up level, this adjustment to my new level of awesome. And how that translated in my life was I had a little bit of overwhelm. I created some time scarcity for myself, and time scarcity would be the big one. And a little bit of reluctance on my own part to really like take the lead, like take charge. So I had these things going in my life, but what it looked like was my morning routine suffered. So the things that my morning routine is where I do a lot of my meditating and journaling, but I was like, I don't really want to get up any earlier. And so my mornings felt crunched. And while it was a conscious decision to crunch my mornings, I was definitely seeing the external effects of that. So I was feeling anxious. I was feeling overwhelmed. I was feeling like there was something I needed to figure out, and I literally didn't even have time to put my fingers on it. So what happens when you feel that way? You get more stuff that you have to figure out that you don't have time to deal with, right? Like that's what happens. So I was, doing my best to stay on top of things and living in this familiar old state of low level constant anxiety, right? Were like not acceptable to me anymore. I dipped down in there every once in a while and I was like, oh God, I know I can't live here. Like I lived years here. I'm not going to live here anymore. So one, it's recognizing, oh, I'm here and this is unacceptable. So anyways, one day I'm trying to figure out my money and get things, like my head around everything. And I look at my bank account and I'm like, what the heck is this? But the IRS just came into my bank account and took $500. Can they even do that? That's not like, oh crap. Is this like fraud? Did someone like hack into my checking account? Like what the actual heck? Like, and honestly, I was like, I don't even have time to deal with this right now. So I'm just going to put it down and I'll look at it another day. Right. Well, that next day, or maybe it was 2 days later, I chose to take a breath, realize I can't live here anymore. It's not who I want to be. It's not how I want to be. So let me adjust my morning. I'm going to wake up an hour earlier, even though that means 4 a.m. Like I'm going to take back that. So just for you who freaked out with 4 a.m., like I'm not a night person, I'm a morning person. So 4 a.m. feels way better than like 9 p.m. So anyways, I took my morning back. I finally had a full meditation, got to really sit, like felt like, okay, this is the way I like to live my life. And later that day, went into my bank account. I don't even think I went there to deal with that thing. And I was like laughing at myself because the IRS didn't take $500 from my bank account. They deposited $500 into my bank account. Like it was, I mean, maybe it said minus a couple days ago, but it sure said plus on that. And I was like, oh, that is the evidence. That is what it feels like to up level, right?
And I just want to add something to that too, because this is so powerful about no one can assert anything onto you if you have a negative vibration about something. So Carrie was in a precarious place. I pay all my people twice a month. I pay them on the 2nd and the 16th. The 16th was Friday. I was traveling all day and it was on my calendar, but I didn't even really notice it. And Carrie was the only person I had to pay that day. And so I forgot. And I realized it on Sunday. And then I forgot. And then I made her a little recording like, geez, I'm so sorry. I forgot to pay you. I'll pay you tomorrow. And so I paid her on Monday. And so my payment to her was also delayed. And it's just like, you are the creator of your reality. And even if something is in your reality, unless you notice it and acknowledge it, is it really there? She could have just thought that wasn't there, gone through her day spending it, and she never would have even felt that surge of abundance that it gave her.
Well, not just you. It wasn't just you. That's the funny thing. Like this is when it's like the evidence is so clear. So I thought the IRS or somebody pretending to be the IRS had taken $500 from my bank account. I actually wasn't, because I was feeling so scattered, I wasn't even really aware, like, oh, did Rachel pay me or did she not pay me? Like, because I was in overwhelm. But once I got myself settled, I recognized the IRS actually sent me money. They didn't take money. And I think that same day, money from Rachel showed up and money from someone else showed up that was also due earlier, that I was just too scattered. So it was like when I finally centered myself, boom, it all came. And that, my friends, is what it feels like to up level.
Yeah, and that's how you get through an up level. You know, they're ongoing. We're always growing and evolving. But in these little instances, we hit a limiting belief, we hit some resistance for whatever reason. And if we can get through it, if we can decide, I'm worthy of feeling better, I'm worthy of feeling good, I'm worthy of feeling abundant, I'm worthy of fill in the blanks, then you can reorient in the direction that you're wanting to go, which is all it takes. You don't want to look back. Oh, why does this always happen to me? Why does no one ever pay me on time? What's wrong with me? That's what's going to want to happen for a lot of people. It's okay, but just remember, if that starts happening, oh, I can fix this. reorient to the direction you're wanting to go. Just like Carrie did, just meditate. Meditate in the morning, do some journaling, do some intuitive art, take a walk, honor yourself and whatever feels good for you. And then you're back on that forward path and you're able to continue on the journey of catching up with yourself, because that's all this is about. Like Carrie was saying, we only feel bad because we're not really in the place that we're at energetically. There's a gap. And if we want to feel whole and purposeful and alive and happy and fulfilled, we have to be matching who we really are. We need to be living in our truth. That feels so good. And that's when we're also allowing all that other goodness to come in easily.
I love what Corinne said. I think she was talking about when I was saying the people are here. But it's so trippy to stand in the evidence of your progress, recognizing thought patterns now versus then. Yeah. And recognizing, when you recognize those thought patterns, at least for me, is recognizing when I dip back into them, how they no longer feel like home. They no longer feel like truth. Like they just make me feel bad. And, when I was in anxiety a week and a half ago or whenever it was, probably wasn't that long ago because time does funny things. But when I was in anxiety, I remember I was standing in front of a group of people and I admitted, you guys, I've been feeling really anxious lately. And I know that when I'm feeling anxious, it's because in at least one area of my life, I am not living in my truth. And man, I mean, just saying that out loud. And I wasn't even, when I was talking to them, I'm a verbal processor, if you guys haven't figured that out yet. But when I was talking to them, I didn't really know. I mean, I kind of had a vague idea, but the more that I was talking to them and saying, here's where haven't been in my truth with you guys. Here's what, right? Like, I could feel it leaving. I could feel that, I could feel myself coming into alignment. And I think that's what's really important is, we're talking about like my money stuff, or Rachel saying like, meditate, like, yes. And I promise I wasn't meditating on getting paid, right? Like I was just relaxing. I was just catching my breath. I was just allowing myself to be. I was just accepting myself as me. And in the doing of that, right, you find alignment quickly. But I find one of the things that's happening with one of my clients is like she's in the middle of a very big, very intentional up level. And I mean, she's making some big, bold moves. She's making some brave choices. She is energetic. Like she's doing some good stuff. And like stuff keeps happening. Like, I mean, stuff keeps happening around her. And that has been, I mean, for me, it's fun. But that has been the most fun thing is like, yeah, listen, you've already created what you want. It's already there. All the stuff that's showing up right now, these inconveniences, these, I thought I hired the right person, but it's the wrong, whatever it is, all of this stuff. Oh, I'm gonna yawn, Rachel. All of this stuff. You don't need to, okay, I'm gonna butcher this, Rachel, sorry, but you and I talk about focus a lot. But this particular person, and I think what happens a lot with people who are in the middle of an up level is they think, if I can just focus hard, if I can just focus really hard on, I'll just make myself feel what it's going to feel, that it will come, right? But there are times when it's about not focusing on what you want. Just breathing.
Yeah, because you just illustrated, because we have to be open to receive. And if we're all clenched up, we're not open. So that's number one, be open. And also, like, let's take this back even farther. I'm an energetic being. I'm a multidimensional being. That is the whole of me. Most of me is non-physical. I want to say I believe, but it's for me, it's more than that. And for whatever it is for you, is fine. But I just grew up seeing the more, seeing that people don't really die, seeing that there's other beings and spirits and stuff floating around everywhere. And like, I had this understanding as a kid, like, oh, there's way more to this world than what people think is just like moving one thing to another place. Like, there's energy, there's movement, there's flow. Like, we all feel that. That's why we're here, right? There's intuition, is the communication of our non-physical to our physical. Like, intuition is real. And so therefore, I'm not making everything happen here. And so I don't need to be that focused director of every single thing, because that's exhausting, and that doesn't, there are a lot of people trying to do that and it doesn't work. It's just burnout, right? That's burnout. Not that there aren't wonderful advantages if you have that flow to be focused and, like, you know, doing something for an immersive amount of time and effort. But you can really feel the difference. So I'm a whole being. You're a whole being. Most of what we're experiencing here is created on the non-physical level, and then we're perceiving that non-physical to be physical. I'm perceiving that I can drink this iced tea and it's really, like, fabulous to me. This is a preference of mine. I love it. You have different preferences. Maybe you like iced coffee. I don't drink coffee, right? So we're living in a world of our own creation. It's mostly non-physical. We're the instrument of perception, which then we get to decide, oh, I like that perception, I don't like that perception. And whatever we're focusing on, positive or negative, is what we'll experience more of. If I'm focused on that the world is crazy right now, and that doesn't make me feel good, well, I'm just going to keep seeing more crazy and more crazy and more crazy and more crazy, right? Because I get to decide what I see. But that doesn't mean there isn't amazingness out there, right? All I need to do is reorient my focus in order to see better things. That's how easily our perception, our reality can shift. Is I'm now saying that I'm worthy of feeling better. Okay, there's going to be crazy in the world, but I don't need to focus on it. I want to focus on the good. I want to feel better. I want to feel inspired. I want to feel great. I want to feel vital. I want to feel alive, right? There's your up level, right? There's the focus. That feels good. That feels open. And that means that all of the universe is going to conspire in a way that lets me see all that great stuff, because now I'm a match to perceiving it. It's really just about perception and having this relaxed, open stance so that you can allow everything around you to show you what you want, and that what you want is good, because that is what you really want. I doubt any of us here are at a point where we still really want to feel bad. There have been lots of times in my life when I felt bad and I smiled my way through it and it was okay. It felt like a little roller coaster, but I don't want that anymore. No, thank you.
Okay, couple of things. So one, Carolyn is saying just being ? Or not Karen, I'm sorry, Corinne. Or Corin, I'm not sure. Either way, I think that was coming up when I was talking about just stopping and just being. But it goes back to focus. So I want you to hear that when Rachel says what we were focusing on, she wasn't focusing on a thing, right? She wasn't focusing on getting that contract at work or doing, like, she was focusing on feeling better. She was focusing on, like, feeling good, and I deserve to feel this way. And the focus was just this relaxed openness. That's the kind of focusing we're talking about. But the reason I keep going back to it is because I used to focus like this. I used to focus hard. I would come to coaching calls and I would look like this. And I would be like, dude, I am focusing my ass off on, whatever. For me, a lot of it had to do with like financial stuff. And it wasn't until like I really got that I need to take my focus elsewhere that I needed to focus on just what it felt like to just be, what it felt like to breathe in and out, what it felt like. I played with the idea of like, what if my nose was on my heart? What would it feel like to breathe from there, right? What does it feel like? I really loved picking a word like joy, and putting that in my body and feeling like, what does that feel like? That's the kind of focus we're talking about. Not like, if I'm able to manifest this thing, that will bring me joy. but because I did all of it. Like I would focus so hard, and they'd be things that would say, describe in detail exactly everything that you want. And there's a time and a place for that, for describing in detail exactly everything that you want. But I was doing it, in the describing of it made me long for it. It made me recognize how far away that I was from it. And I just had a really fun experience where it wasn't a deja vu moment because I'd never been there before, but I had a moment where I was completely aware that I remember longing for this thing. I remember longing for this. I remember standing in here in this room and wishing that it was mine, like wishing that I could be here and be on vacation. And then I forgot about it. I didn't put my focus there. I put my focus on feeling all the things I wanted to feel. And just this past summer, I had a recognition like, holy crap, I'm here. I remember wanting this like badly, like wishing for it, longing for it, knowing how far away it was. And I've been focusing on how I feel. And here it is without me even trying. Here it is.
For her actively trying for it to not happen.
No.
Yes. So we've talked about this before with the house. Just the house.
Not this house. I was talking about the hotel room. But
yeah, I know.
You go for it.
Well, it's just such a good thing to talk about, like, because I do it too. I'm like, I got here and it was so effortless, and it was effortless, except that I had to move past my own kicking and screaming, right? Like, yes. So you guys probably already know this. I'll just recap. But Carrie, I saw it. She had a page in her journal with, I think it was either a printout of a house or it was a little drawing of a house. Like she wanted a new house. She was going into the year of yes. It was going to be epic. She's up leveling all the way, right? Yeah. She didn't even have an office before. Like she had a little corner of the table, and this is what she does. That wasn't, there were a lot of things that she needed to catch up to herself about. And then her husband decides he wants to move. And she was like, hell no, we're not moving. And it was a very long process of a lot of resistance, and Carrie saying, that's never going to happen anyway, so it's okay. So she kind of went along with it. But anyway, this is the house that she was thinking about. It has worked out better than she could have imagined. She did get dragged along for the ride because she does have such amazing positive momentum anyway. And she does self-soothe, and she does meditate, and she does all the right things. But even at that, guys, it's not always a bumpless journey. And if it's not a bumpless journey, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. You don't have to float through life without any, things going wrong, without you crying and having a fit. Like, that's not the definition of spiritual. That's not the definition of doing it right. However you get there is fine. You, as you are right now, is perfection. You don't need to progress in any way in order to be the most perfect being that you could possibly be. But it is natural for you to evolve. It is natural for you to want more. And that journey of getting there can be a little bit tricky. And it is for me too. I got home from seeing my family last week, and I'll get real personal with you here. And my boyfriend was like, "Oh, hey, I had drinks with blah blah blah," like, and this was like the one person that would have been like, "Oh my God, you're cheating on me and you're leaving me. And now look, I'm destitute and I don't have anywhere to live." Like that was like the immediate feeling that I had. It was like, what is happening? My whole world is like disappearing. I had just gotten up at, 3:30 in the morning, and I was traveling probably for 20 hours at that point. And like, I just wasn't in a mental space to go there. And it's so specific. Like, my ex-husband left me for a younger woman and was like lying about it and said she was a lesbian. And just like, there's this whole big convoluted story that just like snapped into place in that moment. And I would have unraveled, and I got really quiet. I didn't handle it like the best, but I was okay. I was mostly composed on the outside. And then when I had a couple days to process it, I was like, this is not a big deal. Everything is fine. But that was an old reaction. And luckily, I was smart enough to know that everything is internal. It's always me. He didn't do anything wrong. Everything was fine. I just needed to work my way back up from that and realize I'm a different person now. He's a different person. We're all good. And like, that can be really difficult to do if you think other people can harm you, if you think other people can manifest for you, if you think that you're not, a safe and secure, energetic being. Luckily, I've done so much work, since my marriage 12 years ago, like, and I know that now, but it's okay to get triggered. It just means that you're outgrowing those things. It means that you don't have to go back and work on those things. If you can see them clearly, even if you have one of those panic moments, it means that you're moving ahead of that. And so even though I didn't explain this whole thing to him, because it's really none of his business, it has nothing to do with him. I'm telling you guys because like I have these moments too, and they freak me out when they're happening. But I know if I could just give it a little time and breathe and meditate and come back to myself, that everything is always working out for me.
Okay, wow. And I love it because Rachel's like, she's kind of private, even though she's really public. So I love that you shared that. And I love that it was a fairly quick resolution, right? And all the way back to my $500 from the IRS, right? Like it was it was a moment of really uncomfortable, but familiar, right? Familiar feeling, familiar story, but so much more uncomfortable than it used to be. And like, that's your sign, right? That was your sign for you. Like, oh, it's all me. It's all me. And going back to my house story, you guys, you don't even understand how much I was kicking and screaming, but I was like, except for I am like totally surrendered. My higher self really had to trick me to get me here is what happened. Like, this is what I asked for. And the path of least resistance was for me to actually believe that there was no way that it was going to happen because I didn't feel safe, right? It didn't feel safe to choose to be here. Well, that's what it came down to. So what did feel safe was to be like, okay, sure, babe, we'll look. Okay, sure. Like each thing, I totally thought I was just like placating because my higher self was not going to let me down. My higher self was not going to let us buy a house that we couldn't afford and put ourselves in financial risk and all of the story that I was telling myself. Okay, my higher self wasn't going to let me do that ever. But I believed that this house meant that. So what it took was me like thinking I was surrendered. Like it took me being the best version of me I knew how to be on that path while secretly in total resistance until all of a sudden I was like, oh crap, we're signing papers. I guess this is happening. And okay, higher self, you're not going to let me down. And within a few months of being here, I was still nervous when we got here, but within a few months of being here, I would have felt safe. I was able to appreciate it, look around, love where I live, and also recognize Isn't that weird? We totally can't afford it. Isn't that right? And then like more and more came, but that made it so much easier for like, now there's momentum. This was a big thing for me, right? And just like you, Rachel, like this maybe was a big trust moment, right? Like it was a big thing. It did feel like a little bit of, I don't know, like cracking through the shell of an egg, if that like it, you knew it had to happen, and it was uncomfortable and new territory and kind of scary. But now that I'm out, I'm not going back in. And now that I know, okay, my higher self really does have my back, right? Because before that, I kind of felt like I was in charge. Like I felt like my higher self will have my back. But this was like, scary. It was a big, scary yes. It was a yes, but it was a big, scary yes. And since then, the other big yeses don't feel so scary, right? And that's what it feels like. So even like, I don't know if you want to tell all your relationship stuff, Rachel, but like, I know that this moment was short-lived because you've got a history now of like feel good yeses. That's it.
Yeah. It's funny too, because I don't really feel like I'm private. Just like stuff just doesn't really come up that often. Like I have a whole playlist of like my past sex life on my other channel. But like, yeah, stuff just doesn't really come up. And so when it does, it feels so awful. It feels so weird and uncomfortable, like you're saying. And luckily it's all for such a good reason. Because you've probably heard we can't take our baggage with us. If we want to be here, but we're here, we have got to climb the mountain, and we're ditching all the heavy stuff on the way up. If you've ever tried to climb to the top of a mountain with a really heavy backpack, it sucks, like a lot. And so we can't get to the top anyway with all of those limitations that we've set for ourselves, with all those weird little triggers that are still within us, all that negative emotion that means different things. We can't get to that next level of intimacy if we still have old stuff from past relationships, right? There's so many things that are going on here. We can't achieve the wealth that we're really looking for if we also have a belief that wealthy people are bad, right? It just doesn't fit. And so when we're up leveling, we've got to ditch all that stuff. And so what's going to happen? It's going to get poked and it's not going to feel good. But when we get to that other side, we're going to feel lighter, more expanded, more free, more safe, more abundant. And that is when that space gets filled in with those wonderful things. So it's so worthwhile to go on this journey, even though it can be bumpy. A lot of people are afraid to run into these things because they think they can't handle it, or they think they're doing something wrong, or they think they need to go then heal themselves. I'm not a doctor. If anything medical comes up for you, get it checked out. But you are a huge, wonderful, amazing, multidimensional being. You are cared for, you are loved. You have such amazing positive momentum going on that you don't even notice because you're so in your own stuff. And if you can relax a little bit, it'll be so much easier to get where you want to go. And just remember in the moment of being triggered, like, oh, this is good. This is working out for me. This sucks right now, but I'm going to get through it if I just come back to myself and who I really am, meditate, breathe, do the good things, reorient, and you'll get through it.
And you're so much bigger than any situation. You're so much bigger than any situation. We forget that. Like we think that this situation is going to consume me, or these feelings are going to break me, or what. They're not. Like you're so much bigger than any situation. And I hate to say it because I don't want it to happen, but like getting triggered now, it's almost fun. It's not quite fun, but like it's now this game of recognizing like, I'm triggered. I'm triggered. Like it's so different than, oh, this person is the worst, or this situation is unbearable, or this, like, it's not. It's like, oh, I am constantly in the process of getting what I've asked for. Everything that I am wanting and intending is coming to me. And I guess I'm just old enough now to have enough evidence that, like, yeah, stuff that I dreamed about 10 years ago, well, dang it, it's here, right? Like, in spite of me, like, or despite, either way. Um, yeah. And Zach, you've been commenting this whole time, so I just want to acknowledge you. When Rachel gets on a roll, he's just like fire emoji, but I love that you were celebrating with us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Zach's been helping me up level this year as well. I'll email you soon, but yes, sending me little things here and there that definitely are like, oh gosh, can I handle that? So I guess more on that to come, but yeah, it's an interesting road. You know, one of the things that I always remembered that Lady Gaga said was climbing the ranks in the music industry was the scariest thing that she's ever done. And while that's understandable to think about, we also might assume that people who are super talented and have vision like her, it's easy. Like that's just people are always there filling your every need, moving you to the next level, but it's internal. It is so all internal. And just recognizing that, like if Lady Gaga had gotten scared off, we wouldn't have her music, we wouldn't have her impact. You know, she's done a lot for the world, even with like her anti-bullying campaigns and all that stuff. What if Oprah decided to listen to her friends and not ask for a raise or not move to Chicago? Or like, everyone's a person. Everyone has these feelings of imposter syndrome or inadequacy, or, you know, just plain up, I'm too busy. I can't do that right now, right? You are just like them. There's no difference between those people you admire and you. But it's about, are you willing to feel worthy of feeling better, of living your truth, of going where you know you want to go? That's the only difference. And it's not to say you need to have a big public life or you're not good enough. Everyone's truth looks different. But you know when you're feeling like, oh man, this is really the life that I know I'm here to live.
And you said earlier, you said you can't take your baggage with you, right? Like you can't take your baggage with you. And I'm thinking about that in terms of the types of travel that we do. And, you know, like when you're going to go camping, say, pile everything into the back of the station wagon or the minivan or like whatever, take a lot of crap with you, right? But then if you want to up level your means of transportation and you want to go on a flight to wherever, Hawaii, right? You're restricted in the amount of baggage that you can take with you, like literally. And Rachel and my next level of travel is like, man, we really want to travel by private jet. And I don't know this for sure, but I know there's like weight limits on their smaller planes and how much you can take. I may have to take a smaller bag. And you know what? I will be happy to do so. And I just think that that is the thing, right? Is we think like, I have all this stuff and I want to take it with me. Like and yet if someone like says, oh yeah, you can totally, you can come in, but like your bag is overweight, so we need to get rid of some stuff. Like it's amazing how easy it is to get rid of stuff if they're like, your bag's overweight, so you're either going to pay the extra dollars or you need to get rid of some stuff. It's like, oh, I don't need that. I'll get rid of that. Like same with up leveling. Like if you're gonna show up in the world the way that you're dreaming of showing up in the world, it means you got to stop doing stop carrying around some of the things that you're carrying around now, right? And so like if you if there was a direct exchange, you can feel the way that you want to feel all the time. You just got to stop thinking that, right? If you could make that direct, you'd be like, oh, cool, done, put that down. And the thing is, it actually is that simple.
It is. And it's even, I know you meant it this way, but I just want to say, because I can hear your brains right now, this is not about, okay, now I'm going to go full force into letting go of all my limiting beliefs. Nope, it's easier than that. It is, trust me, easier than that. Focus on what you want. How does it feel to live your truth? How does your up level feel? How do you feel when you feel good? That's the easy way, because whatever limiting belief then needs to be fixed, it will happen, and then you just reorient back to the good. This isn't about now, okay, I'm going to buckle down and get rid of all these limiting beliefs. That keeps you at the limiting belief. So you want to go, feel good place.
Which, Corinne, is back to the just being.
Yeah.
I spent so many years trying to reprogram my limiting beliefs. And there's nothing wrong, inherently wrong with like a reprogram. Like I have reprogrammed my brain, but it actually didn't come from like hard reprogramming work.
Yeah, because that doesn't reprogram anything. It just reinforces your limiting beliefs.
Yes. Yes. So it's interesting, right? I am running new programs, right? There are new thoughts. There are new, like if you're all getting technical, right? Like there's new neural pathways, but I didn't create them by trying to like stop the old neural pathways. That's the cool stuff.
Yeah. It's easier. It's gentler. It feels better than probably what you're thinking. Yeah. I think we're good. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to thank you for this conversation. And like, you know, one of the best ways to up level is just to focus on appreciation. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm doing. Like I'm looking out this window right now of my house and my amazing backyard and my beautiful pool. And this isn't like to brag. This is like, man, I am in appreciation. And I'm thinking like how grateful I am to I just get to chat with Rachel. Like so rad. I remember, this is huge. I remember being in a place where I was like, I just want to have conversations that matter. Like I said that, like, this whole creating a business, like it's so hard. I just want to have conversations that matter. Right? Here I am having conversations that matter, at least to me. Right? Like I am just in so much appreciation of that. I'm in appreciation of you guys all being here, having these conversations with us. I'm in appreciation of Rachel and her continual, Rachel, you are such an example of, I'm interested in that. I'm going to do it. Like I'm looking at the wall behind you and I'm like, I remember when that was Rachel's crazy idea. And I'm looking at the shirt that you're wearing and going like, I like missed that whole phase. Like I found it on YouTube and was like, holy crap. She was on vacation, got excited, did something, made shirts about it. Now I'm all stoked on it. Like I'm just in appreciation of all of that. All of it.
Yes, I know. Me too, with you. And like, you know, when you moved in and how you found out your pool needed work and it would cost a lot more money than you thought. And you guys were like, I don't know, but you got it done. And it's so freaking gorgeous and amazing and inspiring and beautiful. And like, who cares about the money, you know? Like of course that's coming. You guys have gotten like 1 million raises since you moved in. And so I just love how everything works out. And yeah, if you're interested in seeing my souped merchandise, go to rachelalien.com.
Hey, Rachel, you just reminded me that even after we got this house and I felt safe and like things were good and I was like, sweet, we up leveled, like, yes, smooth sailing. Like not long after we realized, oh crap, we have to spend all this money on the pool. And then not long after that, my husband literally fell into our empty pool and broke himself. So like, yeah, up leveled, felt comfortable with the house. And then look, new ways to surrender to life showed up. Forgot about both of those.
And guys, it's worth it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Because
But
even if you choose to stay where you are, it doesn't mean you're not going to have bumps in the road, right? Grow and have bumps, stay and have bumps. What do you choose? You can do it. You can go for it.
oh, I think that needs to be our message. Like it started out what it feels like to up level, but I think really what we've talked about is like it's uncomfortable if you do, and it's uncomfortable if you don't. And I talk with athletes about this a lot, right? Like, man, there's the pain of doing it. There's the pain of taking that risk. There's the pain, right? Like physical pain of being in a race and pushing a little bit more, right? And there's the pain of not doing it, of like just staying where you are and being like all that to be said is just do it. Like there's gonna be bumps in the road. There's gonna be bumps in the road. And ultimately it's about how you handle them. Do you handle them as do you make mountains out of molehills, right? Do you like focus on what's going wrong? Or do you just like put your hands up and enjoy the ride and be like sweet roller coaster?
Yep. All right, everyone. We love you. If you want some more support, you can go to intuitiveart.com/membership, and Carrie and I will coach you through your up levels and introduce you to our amazing group of people in there who are on their own up level journey and sharing it. And if you would like to become a certified intuitive artist and help people through their up levels and learn our coaching techniques that we teach and model in the aligned up level, go to intuitiveart.com/certification. Great stuff in both places.
Yeah, come join us. We live in a fun world.
We really do. And it keeps getting better and better. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. We love sharing this time with you. Thanks for commenting, Zach and Corinne and Dale. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.